guest tonight is the current land commissioner of the great state of Texas, but he's also the son of a former Florida governor, grandson of the 41st president of the United States, and nephew of the 43rd president. He's now running for Attorney General of Texas. He is George P. Bush. He's up late with me on the Final Five. Honored to have you with us tonight.
The honor's mine. Great to be with you.
So I remember you in 2000 when you were 24 years old and you spoke to the RNC. And at that point, everybody said, you know, you would be my generation's Bush, because throughout this history, throughout the country's history, there have always been Bushes in public service. You didn't get into politics at that point. You ended up going into the Naval Reserves. You served a tour in Afghanistan. Talk to me about public service, both in uniform and in office, and how important that is to you and how that shaped who you are.
Well, thank you so much. You know, your question reminds me of my grandmother, Barbara Bush, the Silver Fox, aka the one with the iron fist in the Bush family who wore the pants, because she always taught the grandkids to do something in your own right, establish your own identity in the community, go out and do something great in the professional world, marry somebody great, have kids, and you know what it's like to pay a mortgage and work every day. So, you know, I did that for most of my life, and I only entered public service until recently. The military is a big part of my training, and I've brought that every day as land commissioner because we deal a lot with veterans affairs here in the state of Texas. But I think about my grandmother when I think about your question, and it's going to make me emotional here.
Well, and I know it's important because it's very personal, and I again, you know, we're not too apart in age, so I've obviously followed your family story quite closely. You got into public service. You ran as Texas Land Commissioner. Again, you mentioned it really encompasses many roles, but you're running for Attorney General now, and it is not a clear field. You're running in the Republican primary against a man named Ken Paxton, who's the incumbent. He's run into some trouble. He's been indicted. I'm curious why you would jump in. Why is this important to you? Why are you jumping into this race?
Well, I love my state. I'm obviously biased. I think it's the greatest state in the country, but the best country the world has ever seen. And I believe that our state deserves better in the top law enforcement position. You had mentioned his criminal indictment. Well, he's also under FBI investigation involving charges related to bribery and corruption. And instead of just succumbing to this cloud of controversy that we're seeing here in our state's capital, why not elect somebody that's going to be an advocate for Texas values without the baggage? Also, you being in D.C., you may be familiar with the Obamacare ruling today. Texas led that case, but lost 7-2, even though the constitutional conservative margin is 6-3 on the court. And once again, Ken Paxton lost a case because he couldn't establish standing on behalf of the state of Texas. And so, you know, Texans don't like losing, especially to California. And so this is another example of why we need new leadership in this role.
We're going to get back to Ken Paxton in a moment, but another thing that came out this week was the issue of border security. Governor Greg Abbott, who is also a Republican, authorizing spending $250 million as a down payment to start a crowdfunded border wall. Now, as land commissioner, you've authorized the transfer of state land to get this going. We know the border has been a concern for many, many, many years. What has changed, and is this the state's purview to get involved in this? Because this is something you'd be involved with either as land commissioner or as attorney general.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the federal government has just not risen to this challenge, and we're not seeing that leadership from the White House. And so Texans are a can-do people, and we're going to roll up our sleeves and do it ourselves. You know, I will also be thinking about a lawsuit bringing against the federal government that will compel the federal government to finish the Trump wall. Congress did appropriate $1.5 billion. You mentioned the $250 million that the state will commit, and I will be pledging state lands, which is a nice capital contribution of a different sort. But we have a long way to go to finish the 200 or so additional miles that were finished as part of Trump's vision. You know, as Texans, we've absorbed this cost. We're paying billions of dollars every year in terms of increased education and healthcare costs. And you're seeing even in border communities in Texas that are predominantly Hispanic that are just tired of the illegality and the lawlessness in our border areas. And so we got a lot of work ahead, but it is a priority for me, and it's a priority for the Gov.
We know that branding is a big deal, too, and mentioned about the Bush dynasty through the years. But it was a strong brand of the GOP until 2016, and we know that the former president was quite successful in the campaign trail against your dad. He called him low energy, an embarrassment to the family. But you know, this is a question you've received quite a bit so far, and I just wanted to present in this forum here because I want to get a sense. Ken Paxton had tweeted out a couple of days ago wishing the former president well, a picture of the two of them together. How important is the blessing or the endorsement from former President Trump in this race, or is this something you can do with your track record and what you've done in public service so far, with or without that endorsement?
I would welcome the endorsement. We've been in touch several times since I've announced. He's focused like a laser on the border wall. He's focused on making sure that we have the right Republicans on the ticket. And so in light of Ken's legal troubles, he knows that he is the weak link for the Republican Party here in the state of Texas. And it shows because 4 years ago, he was the lowest vote getter among all the statewide. I was the second highest that year. So, you know, in terms of my argument to the president, I've been saying, look, if you need a conservative that's going to carry on your legacy, I'm the guy to do that. Not Ken, because he could very well lose to the Democrat. He almost lost to an open borders Democrat 4 years ago, and they've already funded a former mayor out of Galveston in this race. So we keep in touch. Trump is the center of the Republican Party, and I was thankful to have the opportunity to help him out and get him elected in 2016.
All right. George Prescott Bush. That's what the P stands for, if people are wondering. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time tonight, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Good to be with you.
Final Five back after this.